So, hi, I'm Owen Kobe, and this is my mom, Alice Kobe, who is the school librarian at James Monroe High School in Fredericksburg, Virginia. How are you?
Good, I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Talk me through the situation, if you will, at your library, like what's going on right now.
Sure. Our school has closed. We first set up choice boards for our students where they could choose between different kinds of activities. Now we're doing new learning boards. I've really had to completely revamp my job because when the school was open, I was mostly working a lot one-on-one with students or with classes live, and of course that's not happening. And the way that the teachers have been having to interact with the students has put me in a pretty remote position. So I've kind of been working a lot with helping the teachers figure out how to get their learning across, looking for new online resources they could use to link in with their trainings, um, doing a lot of technical work, helping them sort of check out their learning modules, make sure their links are live, things like that. Just trying to see where I can be of help and step into the breach.
Do you work one-on-one with the students at all anymore, or like do you hear from them?
I have not really so far at all. A lot of our students have we have been giving out laptops just recently to try to make things more accessible to the students, but a lot of our students have not had as much access. And so I've tried to get word out through the teachers. Like I found a lot of free ebook links that I have put on my library website and sort of told a lot of the teachers, particularly the English teachers, that those resources are there for kids who want to just be able to read for pleasure or try to find books that are related to the assignments that they're being given. But except for supporting students that way and through their curricular learning with teachers, I haven't really had a lot of contact with students, except the ones I run into outside, very rarely. Yeah.
Now, JM has made attendance of classes optional, right, as a response to people not having internet access, or?
Um, well, the attendance was entirely optional for the choice boards that kind of, for 3 weeks, we just had the kids doing assignments that would keep them from losing space, falling backwards, and just kind of reinforcing material that they had already learned, not teaching any new material.
Mm-hmm.
And for those boards, that was all entirely optional.
Okay, but
Now it's not so much required. Like for the seniors who are definitely going to graduate, those kids, they're pretty much done. Like they are exempt from the new learning modules.
Mhm.
But for the ones who are in danger of not graduating, or for underclassmen who are trying to go on, uh, they're going to do well grade wise this term, but there's still going to be a set of information that if they don't get that information, they're going to be at a gap going on to the next year. So there's requirements for them to do these new learning modules either now or in the summer or at the beginning of the fall in order not to lag behind. So some stuff is required at
Mhm.
some point, not necessarily now.
Understood. What kind of challenges have you faced in moving over to like remote teaching and remote library work?
Well, obviously there are just many challenges. One is just trying to remain connected to people. I used to be a department head, but now I've started attending all the different department meetings so I can be in better touch with where I might be able to help support them in whatever kind of resources they were looking for or whatever kind of needs they might have that I could fulfill. That has been one thing. And then, as I said before, just trying to renegotiate what it is that I'm actually doing has been challenging. I've spent a lot of time working on updating my webpage, which unfortunately parts of had fallen seriously out of date, partly because I've been operating as a single librarian in a
Mhm.
K through 12, I mean a 9 through 12 high school where we're supposed to have 2 full-time librarians, but of course because of funding that hasn't been happening.
Of course.
So I've been able to catch up on a lot of administrivia that has been useful, and just kind of hunt down a lot of new resources that I've been adding to my webpage as well as giving to teachers, so that that'll be helpful going forward. I'll have a lot more sort of access to good vetted sites because I've had the time to go out there and take a look at what's out there and get caught up on all the different, possibilities. So
That's awesome. That kind of leads right into one of the questions that I wanted to ask, which is, do you foresee like this period, do you foresee it permanently changing the library and what it does once everything returns to in person again?
I would hope so. I mean, hopefully radical change is always going to give opportunities for things to move in a better direction. Uh, Maybe, obviously the more ebooks, the more online stuff we have available to kids, the more they can do more of their own learning on their own time outside of the bounds of school. Some of them have a lot of problems with wanting to perform when they're at school and may learn better in the framework outside of the school day. Um, does that answer your question?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Have you seen recently a bunch of like ebooks and free resources like out there that weren't there before everybody went remote?
Certainly, there are a lot of different places that are offering free resources during the time of the coronavirus pandemic. Just to try to, I think for one thing, it's sort of a free advertising time for them, but also, I think they're doing it partly out of the generosity of their own hearts and wanting to, help at the time when they've got the resources and everybody needs something, and we're not used to just dealing with things that are remote. So there has been more material out there, um, but also more time, like, for everybody to discover what really is already out there, and utilize some of the resources that have always been right before us, but nobody's really been looking because we've been dealing more with face-to-face situations.
And have you been involved at all in the discussion about the Internet Archive's online library? Have you
Uh,
seen that?
Not really, not really.
Have you used that as a resource?
Not recently.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, because they just expanded a bunch of their like services in a way that like you used to be able to like rent to check out a book and then return it like as with a normal library, but now they released a bunch of stuff I think that was just scans and that they weren't like legally kind of entitled to, so it's very legally fuzzy right now. I wonder if there's other stuff like that.
Well, I know that there was a large set of books that was being released for everybody to be able to check out that came from some of the boarding schools, sort of fancier boarding schools. They had a lot of online materials, but then there was a lot of challenges from writers that their material was being put out there for free when people would otherwise be buying those books and things like that. So it, yeah, put a lot of those same kind of copyright issues and
Yeah,
ownership issues out there. But
that's interesting. I didn't know it came kind of from the boarding schools.
well, they had those, they were so rich, they had those resources in the first place. So there they were. But
Have you found that doing all of this kind of asynchronous stuff and adding online resources, has it affected your relationship with your colleagues at all?
um, I don't know. I mean, I feel like they have definitely been appreciative of the work that I have been doing, but I feel like, I used to sort of walk down the hall and they would just be like, hey, wait, I'm having this technology crisis, or, I really need these ideas for this unit that I'm doing. And we always collaborated a lot. I think we've got a really tight school, partly because it's not that big of a school. We have about 1,000 students, probably about, 60 some teachers. And so we've always sort of had a close network, even across lines, subject lines, and
Mhm.
a lot of sort of people willing to collaborate with people. And uh, I don't know, I think we're all a little more desperate for interaction with one another. That might have been helpful in that way. But, and being in on the department meetings has led to, it's been helpful in terms of developing a little bit more of the one-on-one relationships. But I think it was always there to a certain degree.
But that's interesting. I hadn't thought about that. You would lose the kind of like spontaneous technological help that they're always asking you for and everything.
Yeah.
The kind of like day-to-day fixes that you provided as an in-person librarian.
I can't get my computer to project. Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, One thing that I wanted to ask is, do you have any specific like practices, any specific resources that you would recommend for other library workers that you feel like have really worked out for you during um, remote learning?
Hmm. I mean, I would definitely encourage everyone to do as best they can to reach out to their faculties, you know, to let them know they're there, remind them of all the kinds of resources that they have. A lot of times, even during the regular school year, teachers forget what we have, but now it's even more important to go ahead and promote the materials that we do have because they're more desperate for something beyond themselves and their regular way of doing things than they usually would be. So that probably mostly is just to keep them aware of all the good stuff that we have and to keep working on making that good stuff that we do have available be ever widening and ever sort of more on point.
Got it. Well, thank you so much for that.
Yeah.
Um, and I really hope that JM's library continues to grow and thrive throughout this, and that all of the gains that you've made during remote learning you don't lose when you go back to regular. I think that you will see a benefit from this, and
Thanks. I hope so.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Certainly it's brought us all closer together.
definitely. All right, well, thank you so much.
Yeah. Good to talk to you.
Good to talk to you.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.